With our first presentation, you might remember Lindsey Young from our very first Talk20 Hutch here in January 2014, right here in this room. Then she talked about making headlines, entrepreneurship in your 20s. We asked Lindsey to come back for an update. 9 years ago, Joey and Lindsey Young cleaned out their savings account to make the down payment on their own business, a weekly newspaper. After that initial leap into their dreams, the Youngs now own 4 weekly papers and are making their mark on a centuries-old profession. Their journey has never been an easy one, but their passion for community journalism is informed by the past, drives their present, and will define their future. Here's Lindsey with Still Making Headlines.
Almost exactly 7 years ago today, I was at the first Talk20 Hutch, speaking about the journey my husband Joey and I began only 2 years before as the youngest newspaper owners in the state of Kansas. I explained that entrepreneurship in your 20s is a scary but exhilarating ride. Oh, that poor naive girl. Now I'm a grizzled 30-something, and it's time to give you the next chapter. For background, on June 1st, 2012, we purchased the Clarion, the official paper of several towns in Reno and Sedgwick counties. For our first issue, we pulled an all-nighter to redesign its look into something clean and modern. When Joey proudly handed his mother that very first copy, she immediately asked, "What happened to the pretty little son?" On that day, we learned that everybody's a critic. Well, despite the initial reaction, people started to take notice of us. When you're the youngest in the business and trying new things, you kind of become the prettiest girl in the bar when older publishers are trying to figure out how to retire. And on April 1st, 2014, one of those vets, Joel Clausen, a true newspaper visionary, asked us to take on his publication, the Hillsborough Free Press. He knew we didn't have the capital for an investment, so he took a chance on us, telling us he would make it work. Suddenly, our 10-year business plan was a reality in only 2 years. And instead of distributing 1,500 papers a week, we were now at nearly 8,000 combined circulation. Now, if you thought 2 newspapers were enough, you and I would be in hearty agreement. But I realized very quickly that I married a serial entrepreneur, and Joey wasn't done with his ambitions. So on August 13th, 2015, we took on yet another challenge and launched a brand new publication, Newton Now, to compete with the corporately owned struggling daily in town. We began our paper on a wing and a prayer, and we discovered that it's tough to start something completely brand new. But we also discovered that the city of Newton was desperate for a real community-centered newspaper, and a lot of wonderful people supported us, many of them handing us a check for a subscription before we even put out our first issue. We were able to bring on a great team of hardworking people who were just as insane as we were, and suddenly we had paper number 3. It was a crazy time in our lives with a lot of stress with a new paper and expanding into a new market, so Joey made me promise not to let him start anything new for at least a year. So exactly 1 year and about 1 week later, in August of 2016, we purchased another newspaper, the Harrington Times. We really didn't have any business owning the Times, but when we heard that its owner unceremoniously closed the century-old publication and the city of Harrington was about to lose its newspaper, we couldn't let that happen. We drove to town, gave ourselves a tour, and the paper only missed 1 week of publication. So as you can see, by this point, I had completely lost control of the situation, and sometimes it's easier to just go with the flow. So when the opportunity came to add 4 more newspapers in 2018, we went for it. We sold the Harrington Times to a local owner and added the rest of Harvey County along with McPherson County. Now all of our papers fit nicely together, giving us our tiny empire stretching from Mays to Haven and covering Marion, Harvey, and McPherson counties. So the real question is, why do we do what we do? And I think it can best be illustrated by a few photos from our talented photographers, Fred Solis and Wendy Nugent, that you'll be seeing over the next few slides. Community journalism is imperative. It's what keeps local government in line, it's what gives voice to local issues, and it's what helps it's how residents get to know their neighbors. We're a fixture at every school board and city council meeting, we're at the high school ball games, local chili feeds, and everything in between. We maintain a strong opinion page, drawing attention to local issues, both good and bad, and asking residents and local officials to take action where necessary. When COVID-19 came to our area, we became a source of information for our community. We dropped the paywall on our website and posted every story on the pandemic for free as a service to local residents, attending the health department briefings, becoming an editorial voice for stopping the spread through wearing masks. Just this week, when locals couldn't get through on the new health department phone hotline to schedule their vaccinations, we were many people's next call to find out what was going on. And another part of helping our community has been doing deep dives into local issues, spending weeks and months investigating to get to the bottom of things. In 2017, Newton Now's managing editor, Adam Strunk, was recognized by the Kansas Press Association as the winner of the Victor Murdoch Award, an honor given to the best investigative journalism piece in the state of Kansas every year. Not only did Adam's story help expose some backrooms dealings happening with city government that was costing taxpayers money, but he was also the first weekly newspaper journalist to win the award in 13 years. In addition to running local newspapers, we've also gotten to branch out in ways that we never thought possible. We started hosting an annual fall concert in Newton called Blues, Brews, and Barbecue. The event brings in national blues acts as well as local ones, and we've gotten to collaborate with local breweries, including Salt City, to have a special beer for our event. Instead of tax dollars flowing out of the county for entertainment on that weekend, we're able to keep them at home. We also have a book publishing and custom printing arm that helps us serve our customers in a myriad of ways, and we recently launched an IT company, bringing our good friend and fellow Reno County native Tommy Hornbeck on board. Now, despite our success, we still have people shake their heads at our chosen profession, since the national conversation has been that newspapers are going the way of the dinosaur. The Denver Post illustrated the plight of many newsrooms around the country when they published 2 photos a couple years ago, showing first their news staff in May of 2013, and then showing the voids left by the 142 members of their newsroom who had been let go by April of 2018. It was shortly after that at least 24 more would be laid off. Unfortunately, hedge funds and local corporations have taken to milking local newspapers and cannibalizing newsrooms. It's also been tough as the national conversation has increasingly demonized the profession and made our jobs more difficult, despite how absolutely essential journalism is to our cities and our country. Regardless of how you felt about the January 6th insurrection in D.C., for us, hearing phrases like murder the media and watching some protesters destroy cameras and assault journalists was alarming and disheartening. But we're not going anywhere. Despite the stress and the uncertainty, what we are unwaveringly sure of is that what we do allows our communities to stay strong. We are the first recorders of history, and if we don't do our job, what happens today will be lost for future generations. It's not always the easiest job in the world, but we're around for the long haul because it's our home, it's our passion, and it's vitally important.